What the heck is a friendship wedding? I know. That's a question I never thought I'd have to ask myself, but I recently did find the answer to that question. I will explain that. We're also going to talk about the cause of the fires in Australia, as well as briefly talking about Meghan and Harry leaving the royal family. And then finally, over the holiday break, I did tell you I had the opportunity to finally watch the Friends TV show, and I'm going to tell you all my thoughts on that and more. I am your host, Elisa Steele. This is Deconstructing the Culture. Thanks for joining me. Now, before I even dive in, I know I'm just envisioning the comments on this video or podcast, wherever you're watching or listening, and you're going to ask me, Elisa, why do you have an X on your hand? Like, were you testing out makeup and it went wrong? No, that's not why. You're going to actually have to head over to social media on my Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook to find out why I am wearing an X on my hand for the month of January. It's for a very, very good reason, and I really highly recommend that after you read my reasoning behind wearing this X on my hand, that maybe you consider writing an X on your hand and having more conversations around you when people ask about it. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in now to today's content. Now, I have been seeing a lot of stuff about the fires in Australia, and it does break your heart. A fire, especially a big, devastating fire, or many, many fires like Australia is suffering from right now, is very concerning. It's very alarming, whether that's in California or whether that's in Australia. Personally, I know how just concerning that can be to be close to it too. Where I used to live in northern Utah, we had a fire threat when I was young and living there, where we were having to think for the first time, okay, so at what point do we decide if it's close enough to leave our house or not, and what that would look like? Now, thank goodness I never had to go through that. The fires were successfully quelled before they reached where my family lived, but it is very, very concerning, and obviously it's not great for the air quality and so forth. Now, the main thing that makes conservatives and liberals and Democrats and everywhere you're at on the aisle even talk about this is because experts and so-called experts or quasi-experts such as like Greta Thunberg, who's not really an expert, but for some reason we're giving her the time of day when it comes to climate change or other topics, are claiming that all these Australian fires are due to climate change, that they just happened and it's completely about climate change. Now, I'm not saying climate change has nothing to do with these fires or helping them continue to spread, but there's also contributing man-made factors, which I think are a very big part of it. And it's just not my thoughts, but we have evidence and statistics and now arrests to back that up. Now, while I do also, I've talked about this in other episodes, but I just want to briefly say for any of those who don't know my position on climate change, it's very simple. I believe that yes, climate change is real to a certain degree, but I believe that humans have very, very little impact on the warming or cooling of the earth, and that it is just part of the way that our earth functions. Obviously, I could see that there would be some issues with that, but I don't think that there's a lot that mankind is doing to actually impact that. And I don't think that going back and living like pioneers and completely getting rid of all our modern conveniences are actually going to stop anything. So that's kind of my stance very briefly on climate change for those of you who have asked and who maybe haven't listened to previous episodes. Now, sadly, obviously, these fires, they've killed at least 24 people, which is the travesty when even one person dies, and there's so many people and family members who are affected by that. But there are thousands now who are homeless as a result of these fires. And there are a lot of animals who have been killed. I've seen a lot of fluctuating numbers on this, so I wasn't exactly sure which one. The best estimate that I can find that seems kind of like be the middle ground is that 480 million animals have perished. Misread there. But suffice to say, a lot of animals, let's say millions of animals have tragically died. That's sad. Okay. And I'm not going to belittle the fact that it is sad when life is is extinguished, and especially because it's not going towards feeding anyone or making anything better in our world. But the truth is, this isn't a climate change issue, and that's my point in bringing this up. Is you're going to see all over on social media, if you look up Australia fires, it's all over global warming, like it's all of our fault, it's climate change. And it's basically a blaming of conservatives, of saying, see these fires, this is directly because of you, and you're not getting on board with talking about the dangers of climate change. No, honey, that's not directly because of the fact that I'm not going to live like a pioneer. The fact is there have been now dozens of arrests of people who have purposely or accidentally started many of these fires. In some of the things that I'm reading, it's saying at least half. The Sydney Morning Herald reported last month, actually, that, quote, there are on average 62,000 fires in Australia every year. Only a very small number strike far from populated areas, and satellite studies tell us that lightning is responsible for only 13%. Not so the current fires threatening to engulf Queensland and NSW. There are no lightning strikes on most of the days when the first fires started in September. Although there have been since these fires joining up to create new form of a mega fire, almost all of these fires are man-made. In 2015, satellite analysis of 113,000 fires from 1997 to 2009 confirmed what we had known for some time. 40% of fires are deliberately lit, another 47% are accidental, and this generally matches previous data published a decade earlier that about half of all fires were suspected or deliberate arson and 37% accidental. Combined, they reached the same conclusion: 87% of these fires are man-made. And they're talking about on a consistent basis, not just this year, but also this year, they're putting people in jail. People are facing criminal charges, negligence charges. They're facing charges for starting purposely and accidentally these fires that are now making national and worldwide news. The Sydney Morning Herald also continued, seasonal changes in part are due to climate change, seasonal changes in part due to climate change on top of natural causes. The drought and westerly winds have some origins of man-made emissions. More directly, however, the source of ignition is human-made. So all that to say, when you're seeing this all online and you start to double think and think, wow, is it something that I need to start changing about my life, blah, 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 whatever it is, don't fall for it. It's ridiculousness. Most of these fires are purposefully or accidentally started by humans. It is not global warming or climate change. Unfortunately, I'm trying to remember who said it, but basically the quote is, never let a crisis go to waste. And that's what this is this is a crisis for Australia, and it's not being put to waste for in any circumstances by the leftists of today's day and age. Now let's talk about the royals really briefly. I want to be upfront with you. I don't follow the royals at all, so it's kind of a miracle that I know about this, but it's blasted everywhere, so you've probably heard about it too, whether you follow the royals or not. I am so shocked when I first read the story coming out that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were leaving the royal family. I was like, okay, what's new? Like, I don't care. Like, I didn't even faze me. I read it almost as like a passing headline. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Whatever. I didn't even think good for them or that sucks. Like, I had zero reaction to it. I was like, well, okay, whatever. I think it's probably because I'm an American and I just don't care. And if, like, let's say one of the president's children came out and said, I want nothing to do with politics anymore. I know I've taken up to this point, like, a lot of involvement in, being part of the presidency's staff or whatever, but now I want nothing to do with it. I just want a normal life. I want less press in my face. Like, I just want to settle down. I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. You got burned out. You got tired of it. Like, it was too much. You wanted a normal life. You wanted to protect your kids from me. I'd be like, whatever, that's fine. So maybe that's like the American part of me, is I don't really care what the president's children or family do. It's like, whatever. I don't elect you as president. Who cares? But that's probably, like I said, the American showing through in me, because there are a lot of people and much of the internet who apparently hates Meghan Markle and is like blaming her for leaving the royal family. And I'm just like, okay, so on one hand, I could see that. She marries into the situation, thinks maybe she knows what she's in for, but turns out is way freaking harder than she thought. And after getting married and then going through a pregnancy, and then now I think she has like an 8-month-old son, is what I think I read. Now she's like, actually, this is way more than I bargained for. This is really not a quality of life that I want for myself, my husband, or my child. Like, maybe we move away from this. Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe Harry was like, for his whole life, like a growing sensation or a growing feeling of, this is not what I want my life to look like. This is miserable. I want to know what it's like to not be part of the royal family. I just want some peace and quiet. And maybe marrying Meghan and having a child was enough to push him over the edge and be like, huh, okay, yeah, never mind. Bye bye, royal family. Either way, like, I'm seeing the craziest memes out there, like Meghan Markle comparing her to like splitting up bands, or I'm seeing, I think it's like it reminded me of Blexit, but it was like Nexit, like Meghan breaking up the royals. But either way, I'm just wondering, can someone please enlighten me? Either comment or send me a message, but enlighten me as to why people care about this. They're just average people in a very old organization. Like, I don't understand why people care if they're part of the royal family. I mean, I could see why the royals might care. It's their family. I mean, just on a personal level, I thought there was going to be World War III when my husband and I got married, and my family didn't want me to move to Florida necessarily, and his family had other qualms about their son, starting his own life and whatever. Like, it was something that we all moved past and obviously worked past, but like, there's a lot of change when you bring a new person into your family, and then it's no longer just your family, but you branch off and become your own families. That's essentially what I'm looking at this situation and being like, okay, Meghan and Harry branching off, making their own family, whatever. Like, I don't care. Good for you. But can someone please tell me why the world cares about this? Because I simply can't see it. And honestly, if I was in their situation and was getting this much publicity all the time and had zero privacy, I would have been like, bye, long time ago. So that's my thoughts on that. If you guys have any other thoughts or can somehow explain to me why the world cares about this particularly, feel free to enlighten me. All right, now let's talk about millennial friendship weddings. This has been the greatest article I read in a while, and it made me laugh so hard when I was reading it because it's so millennial. It's so stereotypically millennial and just sad. But I think it's going to be a short phase thing. I don't think it's going to catch on, but we're going to talk about it anyways. Millennial friendship weddings. This is a piece from Pure Wow, a website called Pure Wow. I'd never heard of them before now, but they're saying that millennial friendship weddings are a thing, and here's why your grandma should stop rolling her eyes. Well, I'm not a grandma, and I'm still rolling my eyes, but let's continue. So they write, most Bachelor contestants claim they want to marry their best friend, but Dylan, 24, and Mary Louise, 26, actually did. No, Dylan and Mary Louise are not your typical lovers who call themselves best friends. Pause right there. That's actually what I thought this article was going to talk about, because I was like, oh, friendship wedding. I mean, I guess you could call it that and whatever. I'm like, I married my best friend. Could I be like part of that friendship? No, that's not what they're talking about. So they continue. They certainly love each other, but they are what they call, quote, partnered friends, unquote. After living as platonic pals and roommates for 2 years in NYC, they decided to put it on paper. Wow. Talk about needing to make your friendship official. Someone's insecure in this relationship. They took the train to City Hall, and $35 later, their situation ship was official. We're calling it a friendship wedding, and here's everything you need to know about the trend. First of all, I don't know that this is really a trend. I think it happened like one time, and now you're covering it like it's a thing, but So they say, what exactly is a friendship wedding, and can you still register at West Elm? Somewhere between traditional marriage and will and grace is a friendship wedding, which in legal terms is known as a domestic partnership. Domestic partnerships are a totally legit way for two people to show the world they're thick as thieves. One rule, you have to live together. You can't be married to anyone else. Once One person walks down the aisle with someone else, the domestic partnership magically dissolves like Marty McFly in a photograph. And of course, the laws vary by state by state. The difference between a regular domestic partnership and a friendship wedding is that with the latter, the couple celebrates it like a traditional wedding, and yes, you can register wherever you like. So let me get this straight. Let me explain this in terms that actually make sense. Two people living together, not having sex, not romantic feelings for each other. They're just friends who live together. They decide they want a big party and people to give them free money and gifts to celebrate their friendship. Yeah. Okay. So if any of y'all out there want to invite me to your friendship wedding, I might come just to see what it's like, but I'm not giving you a gift. Why the heck would anyone give an expensive or even inexpensive gift to two random people because they decide to be friends? Okay. So do I now get a do I get a gift every time I make a new friend? Let's celebrate this friendship. Everyone, I need your gifts. Come on. Let's bring in the gifts because we need this friendship's not official unless you give me a friendship gift. And it's just not because you and I are friends, but because I became no, what the heck? How bizarre and silly is that? My goodness. And no, you shouldn't be registering anywhere, as this article implies you should, because no one's gonna buy anything off your register. That's just completely wacky. And then what happens when, like, I don't know, 6 months later, you're no longer friends with this person because they borrowed your pants and never gave them back? Or they borrowed your umbrella and never gave it back. So then what happens when you're no longer friends with them? Do you have to then send back all the wedding friendship gifts back to the people who gave it to you? Like, how does that work? I'm sorry, but this is so laughable. It's hilarious. So then the article continues. Okay, but why get friend married? Okay, great question. Let's see what they have to say. Domestic partnerships, also known as civil unions, were designed to give same sex partners many of the same benefits, economic and non economic, as married couples without actually getting married. Remember, same sex marriages were not legal until very recently, but some folks, like Dylan and Mary Louise, are still single but want the benefits of a legal partnership. Think of it this way. It's literally a friends with benefits sort of thing, but instead of swapping back rubs and booty calls, they get health insurance and hospital visitation rights. Wow, okay. So you're getting married. You're trampling on the definition of marriage because marriage is by nature and history a religious bonding of two souls in the sight of God and witnesses. No, they're making a mockery of it now. They're going to throw a big party, they're going to get gifts, and they're going to get, health insurance and hospital visitation rights. What a mockery of marriage. My goodness, does this get any worse? And they continue, and how do you celebrate? And they continue, however you want. In Dylan and Mary Louise's case, they had a rehearsal dinner the night before with their gang and Flatbrush. 5 roommates, 1 bathroom. Wow. They even found a bottle of red called Five Friends at a nearby wine shop. And on the big day, Mary Louise wore a white schmuck dress that carried a bouquet of sunflowers. Wow. Total mockery. Now my question is, how does this friendship marriage thing work? Because if they're not sleeping together, but they're living together, they're going to know anytime they're dating other people. And then they have to legally get divorced in order to actually get married to someone for real later. Also, how the heck do you explain that to someone you're dating? Yeah, so this is our first date. By the way, I'm married. No, we don't sleep together. We did have a big wedding party. Yeah, we got gifts for it. Yeah, we legally we have hospital visitation rights and all this yada yada stuff. But no, I could totally date you. I'm not cheating on you. I'm married, but I'm not cheating. What? This is not even marriage. That's not what marriage was designed to be. That's not what marriage is. It's a complete mockery of marriage. This is really truly ridiculous. So, and then they continue just in their absurdness. They said it wouldn't be truly legal in the eyes of Instagram without an adorable photo shoot. And they continue, honestly, your cousin's cheesy engagement photos have nothing on Dylan and Mary Louise's pics. As luck would have it, one of their roommates is a talented photographer and she took pictures of them, yada yada. Seriously? Well, maybe you don't like your cheesy cousin's engagement photos, but at least your cheesy cousin's engagement photos were symbolization of the real thing. A man and woman becoming bonded for the rest of their life and maybe all of eternity, depending on your religious beliefs, that's way more legitimate and special and worth celebrating and going to a party for, and then even supporting them with gifts or gift cards to support their choice than what you're doing, which is a mockery of marriage. Now, then they just continue on with how their families are totally on board with it and yada yada, and it's disgustingly ridiculous. But all this to say, feel free to invite me to your friendship weddings. I'll probably laugh the whole time, think you're ridiculous. I might make some jokes at you, but I'm definitely not bringing you a present, okay? Just, no, it's not worth it. It's not real marriage. All right, now let's talk about Friends real quick. I have some not so nice things to say about Friends. Sorry right now if you love Friends. I have actually quite a few friends who are obsessed with Friends, and they are constantly posting memes and watching it on loop, and they've seen it like 7,000 or 8,000 times whole way through, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So now, in all fairness, I did say I watched it this Christmas break. I didn't watch it all this Christmas break. I think I'd watched like the first season maybe like a year ago, and then since then I'd seen like episodes here and there on the airplane if I found like nothing to watch. So I didn't watch it all this Christmas break. That would have been a lot, but I kind of like powered through and watched the rest of it this Christmas season. And a few observations, I'm going to get to those, but first I want to read you a video, or excuse me, short clip from the Babylon Bee, which is a satire site, and they have some golden pieces coming out lately, but this one's been one of my favorites. Apparently Netflix took Friends off at the beginning of the year, and people are having meltdowns over it. I know this because some of my own friends are like, oh, I'm so sad, like Friends is leaving, why would you do this to me, Netflix? And I'm thinking, all right then, you need a better taste in movies. So they write, Babylon Bee writes, millions of Americans cried out in terror as Friends leaves Netflix, forcing them to watch good shows for a change. Depressed that their favorite terrible show was taken off the streaming service, viewers resigned themselves to watching shows with good characters, quality writing, and funny jokes instead. Well, now that Friends is off Netflix, I guess I have to watch something good like The Office or Parks and Recreation. Pause right there. I love The Office, and Parks and Recreation is really good. Enough that I'd watch it a couple times, but I had to say The Office is amazing. Continuing, said one woman in Nashville, it's a bummer that I have to give up watching a show with terrible, unlikable characters, forced punchlines, and cringe-induced story arcs, but nothing lasts forever, I suppose. And just how on earth am I ever going to find a character as annoying as Ross? You just can't compete with that. So I guess it's on to something good instead. People deprived of Friends were forced instead to stream Arrested Development, The Good Place, and Seinfeld. Some even turned to quality dramas like Breaking Bad. Many started watching Sherlock, amazed that a show could be witty and have a good plotline until the later seasons, which are as bad as Friends. The wives of the nation announced they would just continue rewatching Gilmore Girls for the 78th time. Okay, this piece is golden because it so sums up, especially in that short place where they're talking about the fact that their characters are so annoying. Ross is literally, this is my summary of Friends. I'm going to get to my biggest point at the end, but my summary of Friends is Rachel is a stuck-up brat. I know that she's supposed to be like a brat stuck up at the beginning and then later develops into something better. She doesn't. Newsflash, she's a stuck-up brat through the entire show. Monica has some serious control issues that are glamorized, but like she needs some serious psychological help. Ross is a crybaby. I have never seen on TV a character that is beloved for being a crybaby, wimpy, non-masculine man as much as Ross. Why? Why does anyone like Ross? He is literally the most pathetic character I've ever seen on TV. That's probably not true, but in this moment it feels true. Chandler's he's just kind of sad, and I don't understand why he's supposed to be a funny character. Most of his jokes fall flat, and almost all the jokes in the entire show are really forced. Joey is just, his ignorance and kind of like the fact that you knew what joke they were going to play with him every single time, which is the fact that he has like a delayed comprehension, like it takes him a while and they're all waiting for him to like let it sink in. It was lame, the fact that they used the same joke the entire time. The only character that I could see any kind of charm in was Phoebe. I don't know. I actually know. I do know why. The only way I could see that Phoebe was even remotely likable is because she was so quirky, and she is the only person who actually said kind of funny things, and it was usually the quirky granola-y kind of things. She was the only mildly entertaining character. All the others were either pathetic, bratty, predictable, just stale, flat soda. Like, why is this show so popular? I don't get it. Not to mention the dramas that would play out had me bending in my mind to comprehend how they could spend this much time talking about all the characters' sex lives and not talking about the sexually transmitted diseases that they must all have and be currently dying of if the Friends universe continued. Because I think I was reading somewhere, and I can't say this is like 100% because I didn't write down the number. I should have, but I think someone had like calculated how many sexual partners they had between all of them, and it was something like some crazy high number, like 83 sexual partners in at least one of those, and then they're sleeping with each other like bunnies. Okay, and honest to goodness, the most disappointing thing that I found through all of it is the moral depravity of not only the fact that, Ross is a lesbian ex-wife whom they kind of embrace that relationship. And they also, the moral depravity of the constant sleeping around, which was quite frankly sickening that they would promote that as okay and not talk about the fact that if anyone actually lived that lifestyle, they would be in terrible, terrible, life threatening health situations because of the STDs they will inevitably all have. But then the pornography. Holy cow. If I had $1 for every time they said or referenced pornography, I would have a lot of money. Oh my goodness, I have never seen a show that referenced and normalized pornography so much. And it wasn't just like every once in a while. It was consistent. I would say, I would go so far as to say at least every few episodes they would say or reference pornography, whether it was Joey acting in a pornographic show, or I think it was Chandler's mother as a pornographic star, or it just the once Chandler and Monica get married later, them okaying porn within the marriage, and Monica buying porn for her husband as a gift. Like, it was constant, constant, constant. It would take me the next 30 minutes just to even hit the tip of the iceberg with the porn references they made. Constant. And here I am thinking to myself, wow, a lot of young people watch this show, and they had it constantly reinforced in their minds that pornography is okay, pornography is acceptable, not talking about the chemical reactions that happen in a person's brain when they watch pornography, which I discuss and go into in detail in 2 episodes of the podcast, No Porn November and Pornography Kills Love. Look for either of those 2 episodes. And devastating effects of anxiety and depression and broken relationships, and sometimes just broken lives, completely destroyed lives over pornography addictions that can happen because if young people have twice the propensity to become addicted to pornography than even adults do. Then you tack on top of that the human exploitation that comes into porn, the fact that pornography actively fuels human trafficking, and that much of pornography is human traffickers filming their victims. And you can't tell what is acted and what isn't. You think you can, but that is lying to yourself if you think you can tell the difference between someone acting out a rape or being raped, or someone acting in pleasure or actually being raped while they pretend to be pleasure because they're at gunpoint. Okay? Pornography is so completely harmful. You know how I feel about this, and if you don't, you better go listen to those episodes because you need to arm yourself with the facts. And I'm thinking to myself as I watch this, the one most devastating message that they consistently push so hardcore in your face in the show Friends is pornography. I don't even think their lesbian, bisexual, random crap that they threw in there was even as devastating because it wasn't as consistent and flippant and normalized as their pornography message was. It was truly stomach turning, and I dare someone to. I already looked online and I couldn't find anything, but I didn't look that hard, to be honest with you. but if someone can find a count as to how many times porn was either said or referenced, I would be really interested to know what that number is, because I am sure it is very high, at least in the hundreds. It was so consistent throughout the entire show. So those are my thoughts on porn. Those are my thoughts on Friends. But yeah, it was truly just, I don't understand it. Not only just, even if you took all the porn out of it, it was still a tasteless, predictable, bland, bad character show. I don't understand why anyone saw something good in that, but apparently some people did, because it's been watched a lot of times. Okay, really quickly, let's talk about people treating their pets like humans. You know, I have a pet peeve about humans in today's world treating pets like they are human beings. It's gross to me. Don't call your dog your child. Don't call yourself a dog mom. You're not a mom at all unless you have had real children or been pregnant, whatever. Only other humans can make you a mom or a dad or a grandparent, okay? Just no. You know how I feel about this. If you don't listen to my other episodes, I talk about this. So, my latest example of humans treating pets like humans is, this came from the Palm Beach Post. There is a new adults-only Florida resort that doesn't allow any kids, but they allow people to bring their dogs. I don't know about you, but I don't understand this, because dogs are stinky, smelly, they lick their butts, they're completely unsanitary, they should live outdoors. I believe that pets are outdoor animals, and that includes dogs. And here we are saying, oh, you're not allowed here unless you're over the age of 21, because, you know, children, they're obnoxious and smelly and whatever. But, oh, you can bring your obnoxious, smelly, small rat with you, or large rat. I don't care. Don't bring your dogs to hotels. I think that's gross too. But I guess they're allowing pups up to 25 pounds. They're completely welcomed on the property with their guests, but the guests have to leave their children home. And by children, I mean even their 19-year-olds. You have to be 21 or older to go to this place. So they put in quote, or here's a quote that they have put out to talk about the new resort. They said, "We positioned ourselves organically to align with the growing global trend of travelers seeking adult-only accommodations," said James Viscos, principal of the VOS Hospitality, which developed the project alongside the B Group investment firm. Ooh, okay. So what I'm hearing for this is they position themselves in a place to accommodate the people who would rather spend time with their annoying, obnoxious pets than they would children. And I'm not saying it's not like you cannot want to spend time with your kids all the time. Like, I get that, you need a break, but it's indicative of a society that values pets more than humans. That's my only point in this, and I think it's just weird and bizarre. And, you know, if aliens could see us, they would think that pets are the masters around here. We cater to them so much. All right, let's end with good in the world. I know I diss on pets all the time. You must think I hate all animals, but I don't. In fact, this good in the world is actually to do with the Australia fires. I do have sympathy, obviously, for the animals that are being killed and suffering due to these wildlife fires, unfortunately, you know. But some sweet boys, which I think is really great, these two teenage boys, they decided to save as many koalas as they could from the fire, which is good on them. We should, as the humans of this earth, the stewards of this earth that God has placed us here on the earth, I do think we should take care of the earth to the best of our ability and take care of the animals. You know, we have superior manpower and every kind of power over intellectual and so forth. And so, because apparently this fire has been very hard hitting on the koala population, these boys decided to go around, and I guess their cousins, 19-year-old Micah and 18-year-old Caleb, to collect as many koalas as they could. And apparently they found quite a few. There was a video I watched, and they had like 6 or 7 just in the car, and one was like a mom with their baby. Super sweet. They're trying to rescue these animals. It's very commendable. I'm glad that they're doing something, because we're a lot of us thinking, what can we do to help Australia? They're suffering with wildfires. So these boys did the best they could, and I commend them for their action and trying the best they can to make the world a better place. Unfortunately, around 60% of the koalas they came across had been burned to death, and 1/5 of the koalas they saved, who were dying, they actually died within the first day due to their injuries. But hey, at the end of the day, it's 2 boys trying to think outside of themselves, thinking outside of video games, thinking outside of girls, all the things that can distract boys of that age, trying to do something better for the world, and I can commend them for that action. So God bless these boys, God bless Australia, hope that they can just tamp down these fires, that the rains will fall hard and help put this out and prevent any more human lives from being taken, homes being destroyed. God bless America, and God bless you. Hey friend, wow, you finished this video. I'm so happy right now. Thanks for listening to me talk for so long. You're amazing. You're almost done, but not quite yet. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, iCloud. That's not even a thing. I meant to say iTunes, SoundCloud. That I got I in sound. Yeah. Anyways, go subscribe wherever you listen to them and get your podcast and your YouTube videos, whatever it is, schmazzy. If you want more, go ahead and go to Instagram, where I'm sharing all kinds of stuff on my Instagram live and Instagram stories. And then on Facebook, if you want a lot more content, I share all kinds of videos and articles and fun stuff like that to keep you in the loop all the time throughout the whole week. You don't have to wait for my podcast once a week. You can always stay caught up with me daily on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All right, see you soon.